All right, welcome back everybody to another edition of Forgotten Later Prints. This is the video series that I do as part of my Forgotten Fridays, where I talk about some later printing books that a lot of people just might not be looking at these days. And lately I've been just picking kind of like a character or a character that has a few volumes and just kind of running through their entire catalog of later printings if possible to see if it can fill out, a whole show or split them up between a couple of characters. I do have a character selected for this week. Some of the stuff around here might tip you off as to what we're about to cover. But we'll get to that in a minute. Hopefully you like this content and you enjoy the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to tell your friends so we can keep growing the channel and do some more giveaways and some more fun things coming up here on Rennavision. And if you want to see what books we are covering today for Forgotten Friday, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro and I'll be right back with this week's books. All right, so if my hat, t-shirt, side comics here next to me didn't give us away, I'm going to be looking at some Black Panther books today for Forgotten Friday. These are going to be all the later printings that I could find for the multiple volumes of Black Panther, as he's had quite a few throughout the last like 20 years or so. I mean, we're not talking about anything that might go with like old school reprints to like first appearances and things like that. We're just talking about the later printings of some of the more recent volumes. I think we're going to start here with like 2006 thereabouts. So in the 2000s, all the different volumes of Black Panther, of which there have been a few. We've had a few later printings that, some are interesting, some are pretty cool, some are just, regular cover, kind of duplicated, which is, it's okay. It's not my favorite. I definitely appreciate the later printings when the cover art is new or something is interesting is done with it. But that all being said, we'll get right into it, and let's start with our first book. And surprisingly, the first later printing I could find was from this 2006 run, and this is Black Panther 21. This is the second printing for issue 21. Now, the regular cover is one that a lot of people have been looking at for the Namor and Black Panther kind of facing off against each other, because that is the little bit of the storyline that's going inside of this book, something we possibly might come across in the next movie. I don't know if that's the angle they're going to take, but hey, who knows? The rumors have been there for a while now. It's possible we see Namor showing up as a villain type or an antagonist, I guess you would say, for the next Black Panther movie, but that remains to be seen. But this second print, it has that whole kind of Civil War vibe that they're going with the, with the way they were bordering some of their books around that time. So it's an interesting book, and one that you could find out there. Copies out there for this one could be as low as like $5 or as high as like $20 raw. I'm going to avoid trying to do any graded copies for any of these later printings, because I feel like just talking about raw is just more interesting to me, more fun to just kind of give you a gauge. You can extrapolate a graded price out for yourself, or you can use one of the many services, whether it be GPS or Go Collect or something like that, and you can get the pricing for a graded copy pretty easily, even cover price. But for the raw stuff, sometimes it's a little tougher to actually nail down more concrete range of what you can expect. So that's kind of why I like doing the raws personally. But if you want to see what this is selling for, this second print for 21, well, one did sell for $20. Granted, it was back in September, but still sold for about $20, which is no small amount, surprisingly. I didn't think there was that much interest in this particular book, but pretty cool cover. And I guess there's your price. So if you're interested in that one, that's what you can kind of expect to kind of be looking for out there. Now, sticking with this same run of Black Panther, jumping ahead a few issues, issue 39, when we get to Secret Evasion, is when we get our next second printing. And you can see here with this, they kind of just do it almost like a movie panel. Like they just black out the entire screen and just give you like a widescreen shot of some action from the book here. And you can see, Skrulls fighting the Wakandans and Black Panther. It's kind of cool. So issue 39 here is the next second printing. We've got copies of this out there as cheap as $2 or as high as 15. So anywhere in that range, you can definitely find some cheap ones out there. Black cover is going to make high grade pretty tough because there's so much black on this cover, but hey, you never know. You can probably also possibly find some of these things in those, back issue cheap bins, the dollar bins, the bargain boxes, because, there's not a lot of demand for every later printing out there. Just keep that in mind, too. Not every later printing or every newsstand is worth grabbing, but, people like collecting different types of things these days. So if you find it in a cheap box, it's probably a good idea just to grab it, because there might be somebody out there who's looking for that odd little collectible. So just keep that in mind. What's sold on this one, just to kind of cover number 39, there haven't been any recently. So in the last couple of months, none have sold, at least on eBay, for this particular second printing. So not a lot of eyes on this one, which is why we are doing this in the Forgotten series. Like I said, I like talking about the stuff that a lot of other people aren't talking about right now, just because it's more fun. It's more fun to hunt when you don't have to fight like 90 other people looking all for the same thing because it's hot that week or something like that. So I don't know. It's just the way I like to collect. So that's why I'm covering it here. We're going to go on to the next issue, same volume, next issue. Issue 40 is our next second printing. Again, going with that kind of like widescreen range here with the cover. A lot of black. Issue 40. Yeah, not too bad. That's a pretty hefty looking scroll there on that cover. But copies of this one can be found out there for as cheap as just under $4, as high as 60. I don't know why there's a $60 out there, but hey, that's the most expensive one that's listed. So keep that in mind. Anywhere from $4 to 60 could be in that range. So keep an eye out for it. But if you're curious of what's sold, well, just like the 39, none have sold on this one either. So we don't know what the actual market is, because you can't just go off of asking prices, because that's an asking price. Anybody can ask whatever they want. Is somebody else willing to pay that is the real question. And that's why the recently sold is a better gauge of where the market actually is. But if you are looking for the book, you can only work with what's out there. And sometimes the asking prices are the only options for you, depending on your area. Now, we're going to jump ahead to the next volume. And this is one I know a lot of people have been on for a while. This is 2009. Of course, Shuri on the cover here on this second printing. Yes, there's the J. Scott Campbell. There's the color fade J. Scott Campbell. There's also the Ken Lashley variant for Ken Lashley cover for the regular #1. This is Ken Lashley's second print cover, I believe, on this one. And I actually like this one. Maybe even the best out of that grouping of covers. Like, they're all good. I like all the Shuri covers on this Black Panther one, but I don't know, something about this one, the action, I don't know, the motion, it kind of elicits. I don't like it. I don't know. I just dig it. So like I said, prices have kind of gone up lately. They might have dipped for a little while there. We might still be in a little bit of a dip as we're waiting more news on Black Panther 2. And even though she's on the cover, she does not appear as Black Panther yet. Shuri doesn't become Black Panther until issue 5. So keep that in mind. Even though we see a lot of cover appearances, she's not actually the Black Panther until a few issues later. So, with that all being said, what's out there on the market for this one right now? This could be had for $80 up to $150 raw right now. So prices are a little high, I guess. Yeah, but it is what it is. Even the regular cover of this is very expensive too. So this isn't like just a bump for it being a later printing. This has just become an expensive book because there's a lot of people looking at Shuri as the next Black Panther, because that is supposedly going to happen in the next movie, despite the troubles they are having with the filming and everything, with some injuries and other issues with that production, and we have COVID and everything. But we'll see what actually shakes out once we do get this next movie, hopefully sooner rather than later. And what's sold on our Black Panther one, this Shuri cover? Well, the only thing I could actually find that was sold was this 9-2 that accepted a best offer on $125. I couldn't find any raws the last 3 months on eBay that actually sold. So it could be in a bit of a lull where people just aren't paying, I guess, these prices right now. But as we get closer to the movie and more trailers and announcements and things like that, some more footage or still frames, this might cause this book to start moving again. But for now, this 9-2 accepted $80. So $80 for a 9-2 on this cover was the price. Interesting. Now, this same volume, issue 2, also had a second printing. Pretty cool, kind of like the little split cover that we have going here. But yeah, not an easy one to find, this one. But you can still find it for $6 to $50. There's not a lot of copies out there, but the copies have a very wide range of pricing. So if you're interested, you can get it for as cheap as $6, or you can pay as much as $48.88. Yeah, your call. Depending on condition, you can make that call. And you can see one actually sold at the end of October for $15. So you want to get a gauge of, again, where the market is. Yeah, the rest of the market is paying. Well, $15 is what the last one was sold for. So keep that one in mind. Now, as we move on to the next volume, this is the bit where I'm just kind of, I don't like it when they just change the trade dress on a later printing. It's just, It's just not enough for me. It's kind of cool, I guess, but it just seems lazy. And in 2016, Black Panther 1, when Ta-Nehisi Coates took over writing the title, it was a big deal. They printed a lot of copies. And the second printing here is just a recolored trade dress of the first print, because I think the first print had white trade dress. So they went with all black trade dress here on the second printing, which you can also see down at the bottom of the cover above the little Marvel logo there. You can see in tiny font, second printing. And you can also check the barcode. So please remember, when you're looking at these barcodes, these numbers actually mean something. And this final number here is the printing. So you have volume and issue number, and printing is kind of what they're going for here. But moving on, 2016, this, again, just recolored. So it is actually pretty cheap, because again, it's almost indiscernible from the first print, apart from the trade dress color and a little bit of the second printing. So $5 to $10 is the price, which is not unlike the first print, which also you can find some of these in those dollar boxes, because there are a lot of copies of this particular book. Even some of the later printings you can find in those dollar boxes too. You just got to be mindful of what you're looking at and figure if you want to actually scoop it up for that or not. Price is actually selling on this, however, $5. One at auction, end of October, $5. So again, we're talking like cover price here, because that is the cover. $4.99 is the cover price. So they are out there. As is, here's the second print. The third print, which is, again, just a recolored trade dress. So now it's like that light purple, a little bit of a lavender trade dress on this for the third print. And again, bottom above the Marvel logo, you can see it says third printing, and the barcode as well. You can see this last number, as I was pointing out before, will tell you it is a third printing down here. So again, learn to read the barcodes. It can be helpful sometimes when you don't, you're not too familiar with the covers all on their own, or if a book is a variant or not, because the barcode will tell you if you know what you were looking for. Now, what's available for this third printing out in the market right now? This can be had for as cheap as $2 or up to $15. So it's very similar in range. It's basically, cover or less, and you might pay a little bit extra if you have a hard time finding one. And what's it selling for? Well, none have actually sold in the last couple of months. So no third print copies have actually moved for this particular issue. Now, the next issue of this run also gets a little bit interesting here. I actually do have this one sitting next to me here. This second printing has this very popular Run the Jewels cover. I think it's Raza did the art on this. You can also see above the barcode and next to the Marvel Digital Edition thing there, you see where it says second printing. But this bright red cover is not the first print. This is new art. This is not the cover for the regular issue. So it does kind of stand out. And these are the kind of later printings that I like, where I'm getting new art, not just recolored trade dress. It's just personal preference. That all being said, what's out there for this one? This one is a little bit pricier, but it's not that bad. 15 up to maybe 40. So $15 ain't terrible if you ask me for this cover. I kind of like it. And they also accept best offer, so maybe you can even get it for cheaper. And if you want to see what it sells for, well, recent copies have sold for $8.50 at auction, middle of October, and then December 4th, buy it now for $25. So, yeah, there you go. It's not terrible pricing for this book. And like I said, I kind of like it. That red really pops. And then for the third printing of this book, we actually get two. But our first one is going to take this second print and basically pull the color from it. And we get a black and white grayscale kind of version of it, which, all right, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan when they do things like that, but all right, it's not terrible. I still like the cover, and it is interesting. Interesting change. And this is the third printing, which again, you can check it in the same places I mentioned before. Market on this one right now, there's copies from $12 to $20, basically. So it's kind of similar in range. The at least the floor ceiling's much lower than on the red second printing, but third printings are out there. And this one, if you want to see what it sells for, 5 bids for $4.25 end of October, and then also in October there's a buy now for $20. So not a lot of copies selling recently, but this still gives you kind of a good range of where the pricing goes as far as the sale copies. So what this thing is moving for, anything from the cover to $20. So yeah, it's a gamble what you might find out there. And as I said, this is one of the third printing covers. Why they did 2 covers for the third print, I have no idea, but they did. And the other third print cover is this one, which is basically a black and white version of the cover A. And this is what the cover A was for this book. Why they did this, again, I got no idea. I got no idea why they would have done two covers for issue 2 like this, but they did. And copies of this can be $3 to $9. So not terrible as far as pricing goes if you want to go buy one out in the market. Copies that have sold recently. Oh, I'm sorry. Those are... I don't have any. Okay, so we're going to move on. Moving on to issue 7 of this run, this second print. This is just the cover A, not even changed really. It just says second printing down there where the numbering is, basically. It's nothing changed for this one, unfortunately. So these aren't ones that I like to go and pick up, but they are harder to find and could demand a little bit extra, though that $1.50 copy is still pretty cheap. It can go for us up to $20 as far as asking prices go. Now, what do people actually pay for this thing? Well, none have actually sold recently for me to show. So, don't know what the market actually would pay, but from $2 basically to 20, it's a pretty wide range. But these are a little bit tougher, especially with them being identical basically to the cover, the first printings. You might not even know. It's easy to flip past these because the story is still the same for issue 8 of this run, where gorgeous cover. I dig this cover a lot, but finding the second printing could be tough. And you can see it's right here underneath the issue 8 second printing, but it's in white font. It kind of blends into the background. This is something you can easily overlook because the cover looks very similar to the regular first print cover. So check that barcode. Look for the little light printing here. That's how you're going to find your second print on this one. This one is out there in the market for as much as $100 or as cheap as $25. So this one has some pretty high asking prices because I don't know if it's that easy to find. I haven't come across this one, though I haven't really been looking. But now that I know it's out there, I am going to be looking, especially with these kind of asking prices. And if we want to see what actually sold for this thing to see where the market is, well, again, just like number 7, we don't have any recent sales to report. All right, familiar story with some of these later printings. Like I said, that's why they're forgotten. Forgotten and ignored. I should really change the title too. But that would get a lot of extra syllables, probably unnecessary. Now, this run of Black Panther actually eventually went to the Legacy renumbering. And when we got to that Legacy renumbering, we got the lenticular cover, which kind of like was like homage covers for all the Marvel books. And you did the lenticular bit, and it showed you the original with the new changes. And the second print for that, issue 166, is that classic, Wolverine Hulk cover that McFarlane got the claws, but here Black Panther's holding the blade. You got claw reflected in the claws. Pretty cool. This second printing here. Again, this is not lenticular. This is just the image underneath of the lenticular cover. So keep that in mind. But that's what they did with the second printings for most of these issues at the time when they went with the legacy numbering and they did the lenticulars. This is 2017 though. So like I said, just kind of picked up. It just, once that other run was kind of running near the end, they decided to renumber. We got 166 for Black Panther with the legacy numbering. And this book actually is not cheap. 25 to 40 bucks. So if you can find one, that's not too bad for this thing. And if you want to see what it sells for, it actually sells for 20 to 40 bucks. So the asking prices are pretty consistent with what's actually selling. And both of those sales were middle to late November. So semi-recent to see that the market is still moving on this particular cover. All right. And this run still had one more in the next issue. Issue 167. This is another case where they just basically just said second printing. You can see it right underneath the credits. Just says second printing here. Other than that, in the barcode, there would be no real way to discern if this is the first or second, I don't believe. I think the color, maybe there was a slight change in the trade dress, but for the most part, it looks identical to the first print. And like I said, those are ones I usually don't keep an eye out for, but I might have to when, you can see this is still $15 to $26 are the asking prices on it. So they're not easy to find, this particular era of the second printings with these covers, because it's not a lot of people were looking because it felt like they printed enough of the first prints, especially with all the different variants that Marvel was doing at the time, with all the headshots and the action figures and whatever theme they were doing for the month. Tons of copies of these books when they went with the legacies. but none sold, so we don't know what the actual market would pay for this particular one. But still, something interesting to keep an eye out for, and it's still kind of a cool cover where you got the circles swapping in and out between Claw and Black Panther. It's a definitely interesting take, and I kind of dig it. But moving on, 2018, new number one. This is where Black Panther basically went into space, and there are a couple of decent later printings here to keep an eye out for, as far as I think covers, content, and rarity, because they're kind of tough to find, some of these ones. Now, issue 1 here, this second printing, I actually don't have this one because, again, I didn't even know they made a second print. I thought there were so many copies of the first print, there was no need for a second. But this is what the cover is out there. It's kind of cool with the futuristic kind of space weapons there. Available copies, 10 to 15 bucks. So it's not too bad, not super duper expensive. But I'm definitely gonna have to keep an eye out for this one to add to my collection, because I kind of dig these things. Because, like I said, I like the art here. I believe this is when we're getting interior art reused for the covers on the later printings, but I don't mind that all that much, as long as the interior art is cover worthy, and I kind of dig it. It fits. This would look just like a cover to me. It doesn't look like it's just reused panel from inside. That just doesn't quite fit. Now, what actually sold on this thing is another case where we do have none. So don't know what the market would actually pay, but 10 to 15 is not terrible. Now, this issue 2 second print is one I found a few times, and this one I've sold a couple times because it sells pretty well. This is when there's like the Killmonger kind of symbiote, but it's up in space, and that's what we have here on the cover. Second printing for this number 2. Pretty cool cover. And like I said, this one isn't cheap. Right now, $52.85 up to $110.57. So 50 to 110 bucks are the asking prices on this particular one. Yeah, so it's gone up even a little bit since I've last had extras. I might still have one extra. I got to dig to reconcile what's mine and what's extra. But what actually sold, to see if the prices actually match? Well, best offer on about 60 bucks, where they did accept 50 bucks. So this is still, like I said, a $50 to $100 book, with the last sale end of October being at the bottom there at that $50 range, but still not a cheap one. So one to keep an eye out for if you can find it, especially for cheap. This is one of the pricier ones we have in the Black Panther runs, because we are doing multiple volumes here. Issue 3 is up next. Pretty cool with the red popping off the green. I know it gives you that kind of Christmas vibe when you see red and green together, but this doesn't look like a Christmas cover to me. It does look cool. I dig it. The second printing. You can see it right there. Again, check the barcode. You can see it a little more plainly now that they've added the black box around second printing to make them stand out a little bit more. Available copies on this, it's as cheap as $5 up to about 13. Yeah, pricing not terrible. This is more like issue 1. It's not too bad. Maybe you can find this just in a regular back issue, recent cover, recent back issue box where you pay cover price, maybe even a little bit less for one like this, if you can find it. What actually sold, though, on this one, we have another case where there are none. So we don't know what this would sell for. And this is going to take us to, I think, our last later printing for Black Panther. Issue 4. I dig this cover. I don't have it. I want it. I don't know. It looks really cool. Something about that huge ghost panther hovering above T'Challa there. It's a striking image. I dig it. Second print, issue 4 of this run. I think this is the last one, too. Later printing, at least. Copies of this are also not cheap. These are like issue 2. 50 to 120 bucks are the asking prices on this one. So this one could be a tough one to find, especially at a cheap price. And if you want to see what it actually sells for, well, best offers on 40 and 65, which accepted 30 and 50 bucks. So still not cheap. $30 to $50 return on this cover is not too bad if you can go find one in like a cheap box somewhere. But like I said, I kind of like it. I kind of want one for myself. I don't have this one. I'm going to go look for it continually. Going to continue to hunt because I don't know. I like these kind of things. I didn't really care about later printings until I really started digging in and seeing some of the different covers that kind of grabbed me, like this. Again, I know it's interior art, but something about having it now on the cover makes it more interesting to me. So I'm going to keep hunting this one personally, not paying these prices, though, because I like hunting comics for cheap. But just want to give you an idea what the market would be for these books if you have them or if you're looking for them. That's what I'm trying to do when I give you the pricing. It's just informational purposes. You make your own call of what you want to do with this information. But hopefully you enjoyed this little run through on the Black Panther titles. This is basically it. We just started a new Black Panther title just, was it a couple of weeks ago? So we got a new #1, which will probably get another later printing, but we don't have it yet. So no second print yet for that one, but there's still probably more coming. Other than that, we might tackle Shuri, the Shuri title eventually, because there's some pretty cool later printings for her title, but her run's not that long, so we'd have to kind of piggyback it and put it together with something else. I don't know. If we do later printings, I might get back to Forgotten Firsts, or might go back to Forgotten Variants for next week. I'm not sure what we're going to do next Forgotten Friday, but hopefully you're enjoying all of these videos and content. Let me know which one you would prefer to see next if in the comments. Let me know if you want Forgotten Firsts, you want Forgotten Variants, or more Forgotten later prints, because we can do any or all in the upcoming weeks. Just let me know what you guys want to see. And yeah, thanks for checking in. Hope you're enjoying all of this content. I'm having fun still putting this stuff together. I love digging into this stuff anyway, so I don't mind sharing it with whoever wants to check it out here on Rennavision. And with that said, I will see you all guys soon with some new content. Make sure you watch the live shows and join the live chats on Wednesdays and Sundays for the Star Wars show. And the Wednesday show is just me and Marco doing our more of a topic, pop culture kind of thing. Check out the videos if you've missed them, and I will see you guys soon. Later.